Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we have with us Vani and she is a pre-final year EC student at HDTW. She is a Google DSC lead. She is a Outreachy intern 2021 and the GHC 2021 student scholar, and she'll be sharing with us her journey and the difficulties she faced while achieving all these. Over to you, Dee.
Thank you, Nandini, for introducing me. So, hello everyone. I'm really glad to be here to share the struggle and the journey that I had. And it was not like that I was getting opportunities since the start of my college journey. And it was only after second year when I geared up and started preparing for these opportunities. Like I started focusing more on DSA and on my tech stack. I started with web development only after second year, and in first year I was dedicated solely towards Rehnuma, which is the dramatic society of our college. So during my first year, all I did was build my soft skills and worked on my personality, which really helped me during the second year. And after second year, like I got into open source, and then I started exploring more and more opportunities, and finally I got some of them. So it feels great. Thank you.
How do you keep yourself updated about these opportunities?
So I used to follow some YouTube channels that's explicitly posted about open source opportunities and about internship opportunities, and then I followed extensively on LinkedIn, where some people post regular opportunities and updates. And so these were my two main channels to go through. And also I used to find opportunities on Telegram as well, and there's a website named Dare to Compete. So these are a lot of sources from where you can find opportunities regularly. You just have to keep your eyes and ears open up and ask from your friends as well, like if they know about anything that's going on. So all these platforms are very good for finding opportunities.
The for Google DSC lead and outreachy internship, is there any branch specification?
No, not at all, because I'm from EC, and before I got these opportunities, I used to think like, how can a girl from EC can get this opportunities? Because usually you hear things that only CSIT people get opportunities like this to lead the club or maybe to intern somewhere. And for EC people, you might have heard that it's more difficult to get shortlisted, but it's not like that. You just have to have the passion for technology and a spark to change the community around you, and that would work for you. It's not like that branch would ever restrict you.
So the everyone knows that electronics is a bit difficult. So how did you manage your studies with all this development and DSA things?
Well, honestly, I'll tell you, like, I used to listen to the classes, and side by side, I did my own work to balance out the time that already had. Like, college classes take a lot of time from you when you are starting to prepare for DSA. So, what I did was, I used to listen to the lectures and did the questions side by side. You have to have a lot of mental strength for that, because most people tend to get confused while listening to music or while listening to anything else while solving problems, right? So it's just that you need to build that skill. And I used to study for exams only a week or 2 weeks before, and but keep yourself updated about everything that's going on in class, and sometimes do answer in class, because then teachers know that you're active and you're listening to them.
Hmm.
Build good relationships with teachers. That's a very good thing, because the internal marks are in their hand, which, like, they are a lot of marks, right?
Yeah.
So keep good relationship with teacher and keep updated with all the things. Submit your practicals and everything regularly, because that these small things earn you a lot of marks, and in the end you'll see that your overall sum for the subject goes up when you are doing these things regularly. So you can balance out like that. And also, if you're interested into core EC, then don't do this, like whatever I'm suggesting. Then solely focus on the EC subjects and listen to the classes very carefully. Don't two time things, right? कि एक साइड साथ साथ चल रहा है ऐसे मत करना, एक
Right.
ही चीज पे फोकस करना.
Yeah. As you said that you were completely involved in Rehnuma in the first year of your college. So, how did your journey start and what were the difficulties that you faced?
Well, honestly, I'm saying Rehnuma is not an easy society to be in, because the offline mode required a lot of physical and mental involvement in that, right? You are spending your whole day doing practice, and then there's a play making part, and then you actually go out and perform in various colleges and competitions. Some are even outside Delhi. So there's a lot of time that goes up into the preparation and then the competitions. So what I used to do was, I had my whole lot of bunch of friends there who shared the similar experience as me. So we used to talk about stuff and let out whatever we had in our minds. So having a friend group which is which has a similar experience as you and are on the same level, like same level as yours, and like understand you, that's very important to get through college. Because even right now, if I'm facing any issue, they are the first people that I go to. So it's very important to have a friend group. And also, Rehnuma teaches you life skills. Like I learned management there. I learned how to manage my finances there because at times there's a lot of money that goes into traveling and stuff. So when
Yeah.
you're not like you don't have a lot of money saved with you at the end, so you learn how to manage things at that time.
What motivated you to choose open source?
Well, I started in web development in second year. So after making some small projects of mine, I was like these are the things that I can showcase on my resume. But what after it, right? I needed some platform to show my skills, right? So I decided to turn into open source, and I started with Oktoberfest, which happens every October, and there was a lot of hype around it that Oktoberfest is gonna begin. There would be t-shirts and swags and whatnot. People were interested in that, but I was like, okay, this is the first open source program that I would be participating in. So I wanted to give my all in it, and I started searching like what open source is, how to contribute. And generally people come up to me with these questions which are easily available on net. So I'd suggest you, like, even googling is a very good skill that you should be familiar with. Almost everything is answered on Google, so you don't need to like come up to your seniors every time. But if there's a doubt that's very subjective and you can't find it on Google, only then come up to seniors, right? So that's how I started my open source journey. And then I got to know about Outreachy and GSOC. And I honestly didn't try for GSOC this time because like it requires that you are already contributing to an organization, which was not what I was doing already. So I'm trying to get into GSOC this time. And when I got to know about Outreachy, I applied for it. I was not very adamant to get into it because it was like I'm trying first time and I'm new to open source. I don't know if I'd be able to make it or not. But there's a very good advice to the people who would be listening right now, that if you don't get into a program or face rejections, that's completely okay. Even I have faced around 50 rejections before I got into this program. Like, and I used to feel dejected, but learn from the failures, and then improve yourself according to that. Identify what fields you are lacking and then work on them. So in this way you'll prepare yourself mentally for the opportunities as well.
Right. So the what are the basic skills one should know before entering the open source?
Well, the prerequisites are totally that you should know Git and GitHub. That's a must because that's a version control platform where people collaborate with each other. So you should know how to use that. And also, there should be like some of the prerequisites, like it depends on the project that you want to contribute. If you have a project in mind and it doesn't matter what tech stack it uses, you can learn it on the go, like you're contributing and learning simultaneously. Or else, like if you suppose you know a little bit about web development, you can find related open source projects. You'll find thousands of it, right? So it usually depends on which path you want to go. Either you already know the tech stack and want to contribute then, or you want to contribute to a particular project and then learn the tech stack while you are contributing.
So as Dee said that Git and GitHub is very must. So if you guys want to see how to use Git and GitHub, I'll add the link of my video in the description and you can check that out. So the how should one choose the development domain?
Well, it totally depends on your interest because I was interested in web development since I was in class 8 when I learned HTML for the first time in my school. So after that, cut to second year, I got in and I was like, I had to start with the development field because I was totally unaware where I should start from. So I got to know that HTML is one of the very basics of web development. So I was like, okay, I know this and I can start with it. So I revised HTML and then I quickly learned CSS, like the basics of it, and started building some websites of my own to practice. So that's how I got into web development and chose it that way. But if you know Java, or if you know React Native, or if you know Flutter, like basics of it, you can start with app development. It solely depends on what kind of projects you want to build in, what tech stack you're interested in, what kind of problems that you want to solve. So tech stack is not like, it's not like if someone is doing web development I should follow them, or if someone is doing ML and AI I should follow them. Just think what you want to do and what kind of problems that interest you, and then get into the tech stack that you want to do.
So the in the Outreachy application, essays are very crucial. So how to write effective essays?
Well, for essays, Outreachy, though they mentioned their guidelines, but I'll just tell you some small tips and tricks to write good essays. First of all, Outreachy asks for the discrimination that you have faced in a learning environment, and discrimination could be of any type, either based on your socioeconomic status, and based on gender discrimination. Like, there's a lot of basis on which you can get discriminated, right? So tell about your personal experience, tell about the struggles that you might have faced. And like, what happened with me was, my learning environment in school was not very discrimination free. Like, boys used to feel a little bit of superiority complex, that yes, I know coding and girls don't know it as much as good. And same was with my coaching, where I went for JE coaching. Like, guys used to think that they are much superior than us and can solve the problems, and girls are of no good use, right? So these kind of small instances leave a mark on your mind, and then you start feel like that you're not good enough. So I mentioned about these small instances in the essays. And then one thing which is very important is, you need to back up your statements with facts and figures. Like, suppose if I'm saying that there's gender discrimination in India, I can just blankly say it, right? I need to show the stats and figures that how many girls are actually pursuing higher education in India. So that's something that Outreachy asked for, and they have explicitly mentioned in their essay guide as well, that what all do they want. So these are some tips and tricks that you should keep in mind while writing the essays.
And for the viewers, whatever these said, please don't copy paste it, because they look for some original stories, original real life stories instead. So write your original content and just don't copy paste what they said.
Yeah, just talk about your journey. They don't want to listen to repetitive answers or some Google copy
Hmm.
paste. They want to know about you and about your personality, about your struggles, and your motivation behind contributing to open source.
And also one thing, outreach is not only for females, it's open for everyone who lies in the sector of being a minority in the community. So it's open for all the people who have faced some discrimination or some difficulty in their life. So it's open for everyone, not only for females. How did you maintain the balance between DSA development and open source?
Well, the best way to maintain a balance is to do one thing at a time. Like, suppose if you're focusing on DSA, totally devote a month or two to it, learn about the basics, and then when you are confident that you are good to go with the basics, then start development. Then get familiar with the tech stack that you want to make projects into, and then make like 2 3 projects, small projects, beginner or intermediate level, okay? And then after that, when internships are near and the companies start visiting, go back to DSA, and then start revising those questions and do some more questions of your own, like medium or hard level from lead code, that type of questions. And while you are doing development or are making projects, you can take out some time to do open source as well, because these projects require the same kind of tech stack that you are doing. So with your project you can simultaneously contribute to open source, and it doesn't take a lot of time, so you can easily balance it.
So the how should one proceed with the outreach in, application if one has no knowledge about the open source?
Where people think that open source contribution only means coding, but if you have a project, let's say that you made with your friends, or like there's a project with your which your college society initiated, and if you have contributed to that, so like you can just say that you have experience of contributing in a project and you did a small part of that, because outreach doesn't ask you to showcase your previous projects. They just ask that what kind of experience you actually had in making a project. So if you have ever done a contribution in, like, for say you have written some documentation, you made a logo for something, that's very small on your part, but then again it is a very big contribution for the open source, right? You help them to enhance enhance their project. So you can mention this kind of stuff as well. And so outreachy projects don't only include the tech stacks which require you to code, and the projects that only require you to code. There are many projects which require designing, branding, researching, social media, and a lot of projects are there which don't require coding. So you can go for any of them if you don't feel confident enough to contribute via coding.
So the how to become a Google DSC lead and how was your interview experience?
So, when the Google DSC lead applications were open, I approached my previous lead Sangeeta Di and asked her if she could nominate me, because the previous lead has the power to nominate three people further for the lead position. So I asked her about it, and she took a small interview of me. So she asked me some questions about how I would like to lead the club. So I
Mhm.
answered her, and then she was like, okay, I'll nominate you, and also you need to make a video explaining what all changes you want to bring into your college and how you want to uplift your community. So I also made a video about that and posted it along with my applications. And you have to write some essays as well, describing about your previous leadership experiences and about times when something went wrong but your leadership experience helped you to like resolve the conflicts during that situation. So these were some kind of essays, and after submitting the application, you get a call for interview. So I had my interview with the DSC program manager and the CEO of Be Ahead, which is a company that manages the DSC program. So my interview experience was really well, like the best I ever had, because they made me so comfortable that it didn't even feel that I was giving an interview. It was like I'm informally chatting with my friends. So they asked me all about like what tech stacks I know, what all domains that I've explored, and my previous leadership experiences. What all do I plan to do with GDSC this year? So I asked them about my interviews feedback as well. So they were very happy with my interview, and I was kind of expecting that I would be selected, but still when the email came that I am selected, it was a kind big surprise for me, and it was a very happy moment for me. So if you want to become a GDSC leader and have a passion for technology, and you feel like that your leadership can bring the change around your community, you can definitely apply it next year.
So the what all societies did you join and how were they useful?
So, like I already told that I was in Rehenuma in first year, and apart from that, in second year, I joined Minerva, which is the technical forum of a university, and I joined as the technical lead. Like after I learned web development, I was passionate to contribute to the societies, and Minerva seemed a very good platform because they post about opportunities and past experience of scholars. That's something the our juniors required, right? Because you don't have many instances to do the senior junior interaction which was possible off campus, but now the online mode you
Hmm.
need to have a platform to know about your experiences of your seniors, right? So I tried for Minerva technical lead and I was selected, and then I joined ACM as well and helped to revamp their website, which is up like which is live right now. And also I was the creative head coordinate for Innerve 2020, right? So Innerve 2020, and I contributed to some designs and the posters which you can see on Instagram. So through these societies, I got the opportunity to enhance my skills, learn more about web development and designing, and be more good at whatever I know already. So societies definitely played a part in networking as well. Like it's like aside from increasing your skills, they also help you to meet people who are like-minded and would and you would like to collaborate with them in future as well. So societies are really important, and if you have not joined any, I should say that you must join at least one which resonates with you totally.
So this was all about the journey of Vanidhi and the difficulty she faced and how she overcome them. And about Google DSC lead and outreach internship, we will soon have a separate detailed video on them. So stay tuned for that. And thank you so much, Dee, for joining me. It was pleasure having you here.
Thank you
And
so much, Nandini.
so if you like the video, do like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll meet you in the next video.